Welcome to Enigmatica 2 Expert. So the topic today is Draconic Evolution, specifically the Armour. As you can see here, I've upgraded the helm to the shield recovery is at Draconic tier, and then I've got a little bit of shield upgrades on the chest plate, and then the pants and the boots have nothing yet. And if you weren't aware, let's just look at the shield recovery upgrade. There's a basic tier, a wyvern tier, and a draconic tier, which is what I've got to. And you have to do each tier, you can't skip a tier. And then lastly, chaotic tier, I can't do yet, or I don't actually see a recipe. But it doesn't matter what you're upgrading, it's always the same ingredients for the tier. It doesn't matter if it's leggings or tools or whatever, and it also doesn't matter what the thing is, whether it's RF capacity or the shields or the movement speed, yada yada yada. You get the point. And also, since this is Enigmatica, I feel like it's important to say, hey, the recipe's changed a little bit. And again, changed a little bit. So it's quite the adventure getting here. And I had most of it automated. But this last part I was doing manually, and I've discovered a way that I think is pretty cool and I wanted to share it. So this Draconic core is fully automated for certain items like the Awakened core. I'm using applied Energistics plus some redstone control to send items, and it's got flow control, so I can actually ask for many things at a time, and it doesn't overload the system. And the way I use flow control is with these tokens, and I've made other videos in the past. For instance, for extended crafting, I use tokens to throttle only one recipe at a time, and for Botania, the altar and I guess that's the pedestal, I use tokens, and I've done videos on this stuff in the past if you're curious. And as a side note, for a lot of these systems, I use ender chests. Basically, the AE2 interfaces are set to blocking mode, so it pushes the ingredients for a recipe in, plus one of these tokens, and it doesn't release it until the recipe's done. And the token takes advantage of this feature called blocking mode. It doesn't push the next recipe in unless blocking mode is on. So that's important. So what I've done here is I've used the PackagedAuto mod called the Unpacker and the Packer blocks. They're kind of add-ons to applied Energistics. And a quick overview, with the encoder, you encode one part of the recipe that goes into the packer and one part of the recipe that goes into the unpacker. And just like the AE2 interface, there's a blocking mode that has to be enabled. And I push it into this chest, which is set up, of course, over there. And looking at the recipe, so what I've done here is I've actually just taken an item, or in this case 16 items, named it Draconic Basic and Draconic Wyvern. And for the basic one, since it's always the same basic ingredients, I've sent a token, which is helping me use blocking mode, plus the ingredients. And the only thing I haven't included in this recipe is the upgrade piece, plus whatever tool or whatever piece of armor I want to upgrade, because I don't want to go to the effort of making a recipe for everything, because it seems kind of excessive, but I feel like I can, it'll definitely help me if I have a system that delivers all of the ingredients for me. So these named items, I should throw half them back in here, and you'll see why in a second, why I don't throw them all in. But looking at this Draconic helm, let's start with shield capacity. I just realized that's what the item's called, but I actually want to make an upgrade for the helm, Draconic Basic. And basically I want to ask for one of these. Now what it's going to do is it thinks it's going to send all these items and return Draconic ingot called Basic, but it's not. It's just going to send these items here, plus the token to act as flow control if I was to ask for a bunch of things at once. Also, I should mention only certain items are whitelisted to go into the crafting core. If it's not whitelisted, they only populate around the edge. And every single one of these, of course, is set to single mode active. These, what are these called? Crafting injectors. And you'll see up here, we've got a placeholder. So that won't release until this recipe is done, signaled by that torch going red. I guess I can take my helmet piece, and if I stick that in the middle, I might as well just take these out and have them in my inventory. And I found that these don't get used for some reason. I would have assumed that these would have been used in the craft, like every other item is used, but they persist. So if I say, you know what, I want to start with capacity. RF capacity. So immediately it starts because it detects a valid craft from this comparator, and then that comparator there's two comparators. A Botania comparator that's kind of wireless, and then a real comparator pushes energy in and starts the craft. Then once it's done, you see that pulse, and it releases the token. And you'll notice this stays in there. And my AE2 system is still waiting. It's expecting this. So what I've been doing is just kind of saying, okay, you know what? Here you go. And then the craft finishes. Or I could just cancel it. I haven't decided. And here's the Draconic Helm, which now that it's got even more and more RF storage, you'll see it's almost depleted now. So what I was thinking I could do is do RF capacity, do everything kind of in order. So I've got capacity, capacity. So that's 3. I should be able to say, hey, I want to do a Draconic Basic, and I want to do 3 of them. So it's going to queue up the 3 ingredients I need to do it. And then once I see the first set arrive, which looks like it has, I can then throw in, might as well grab them all out here, chess piece. And then it starts. And that stays there. So it's not fully automated, but I think it's pretty cool, and it's a lot quicker than me having to try to manually grab these. And for the most part, I can just kind of hang out, watch YouTube videos, and so I've got the first 3 tiers done like I mentioned. So I feel like it might make sense to kind of show anybody who was curious. Draconic. That makes sense. Makes sense to me anyways. And like I said, it'd be pretty easy to fully automate this, but I just don't see that it's necessary. So following the same logic, recipe 3, if I ask, I guess it doesn't matter, right? I just pick one because it's always the same ingredients. The only things that change is whatever the upgrade piece is and whatever the Draconic item is. So I get rid of this one and I say, you know what? You're actually supposed to be a token for placeholding. And then this one, I get rid of this because I just don't, it's always going to stay in the system for some reason. It doesn't get used. I don't know if that's a tweak from this pack or if that's how it works. And then this is what I'm going to say, expect one of these back. Mainly these are just indicators for me in Applied Energistics to know which one I'm asking for. And of course, processing is fine. And save. And of course, I forgot the packages. And you need both of them. And you gotta be really careful to not overwrite. I gotta click save. I click load, it would erase what I just did. So save. Alright, so I got the RF capacity basic tier on all 4 pieces of armor. Yeah, Wyvern tier. So I'm gonna ask for 4 of these, and it's gonna deliver 4 sets. And the issue here with this star, of course, is I've got this whitelisted, this fusion crafter, or another star, because of this recipe. And this is fully automated. I use this a lot, so I don't want to break it. And I am going to work on a fix for this, but for right now, I consider it low priority. All I have to do is throw this in. Again, valid craft detected, and it should complete. So it's a little involved, but I don't find it too bad. It's definitely way better than what I was doing for the shield capacity and the shield recovery. I was doing it mostly myself. So pull those out, say, hey, you know what, those actually go there, throw in the next piece. So we check the craft, and instead of returning these, I'm just going to cancel it. And then looks like my system's automating other stuff for some reason. Cool. So now we have 4 sets of armor. That should all be on Wyvern tier. And this is the one I just made earlier on camera. Draconic tier. Pull it out. Pop in a piece. I just realized if I'm standing here and I'm really fast, I bet I can shift click this into there before it sends the stars, and then the stars will actually go around the perimeter like they're supposed to. Let's try that. Let's be quick. Boom. Well, that's perfect. That solves all my issues. And so it's not actually only these 4 sets of armors. I am actually going to do a Draconic flux capacitor, probably the bow, maybe the sword. So this is definitely helping me, because now each piece of armor is complete for RF capacity. I'm going kind of overboard. I just really don't want to die to the Chaos Dragon. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you know of a better way to do this. I was doing some reading on Reddit, and it seems some people use the Actually Additions laser, the item lasers, and they're really good at not overloading the system. They work really good with applied Energistics and the blocking mode. So I want to test this in my creative world later. But basically, these item lasers with the item interface from Actually Additions apparently work really good with the blocking mode to not push too many items into the system. So I might have to make a part 2 to the video of actually having something fully automated.